Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. This is where we do just about 30 minutes of business before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. I'm in John McQuarrie. We start normally from the global space, and that's what we're doing this morning. So we can tell you that oil prices were just a little bit changed on Thursday after falling in the previous session as signs of higher field demand and falling stockpiles in the United States, which is the world's biggest oil user, offset concerns over demand elsewhere, particularly in China. We know China has been driving prices for about 3 days now. Let's look at the numbers. It's 9 cents that's added to Brent this morning. That's about 0.12%. Bring it up to $73.55. WTI at 0.06%, also up. That's about 4 cents. Bringing that, however, to below $70, $69.73 a barrel. So oil prices slumped about 2% yesterday, Wednesday, because of worries of disruption in Libya. And that ease. And then there was demand concerns in China after that big stimulus plan that they introduced earlier this week. And the signs of the return of Libyan oil to the market, that's also weighing on prices. The market shrugged off data that showed stronger demand in the United States as Energy Information Administration reported that U.S. inventories fell more than expected across board last week. We shared that number with you yesterday. Now we come back home and to the currency market to see what happened to the Naira yesterday. We did see an appreciation after the Central Bank of Nigeria intervened, and this time they did it through the BDCs, the Bureau, the Change, that's the parallel market. So we see that even though there was an appreciation at NAFEX, 0.33%, but normally we keep our eyes more on NAFEM, where it closed at 1,667 Naira 42 kobo after it opened at 1,658 Naira 48 kobo, lost more than 0.5% at the close of trade. So that's another worry that we've been seeing, a trend since last week, Friday, where we've seen even when there's an intervention by the central bank, some money released into the market, we still see the Naira losing value. And Mr. Rewane, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, has been talking about this. He says he believes it is because of the uncertainty in the intervention or the timeline of intervention expected from the central bank. Now, let's talk to him this morning and see perhaps he has found out something more about this. Mr. Rewane, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Great. So you've been saying that the reason we are seeing a drop in the value of Naira, in spite, we saw the CBN intervene on Friday, they intervened on Monday, they intervened yesterday again. And in spite of that, we still see continuous drop in the value of Naira. You're connecting this to the uncertainty to when the CBN will actually intervene. This knowledge, you say, is bringing uncertainty to the market. I don't know if you found out something new. Oh, it seems perhaps there's an internet glitch right there because it seems Mr. Rewane is frozen on the screen, but I'm sure we'll get him back in a couple of seconds, hopefully. Yeah, but looking at what's happening in the value of the Naira, and then when we listened to Mr. Cardoso 2 days ago, MPC decision announcement, and when he was asked about his achievement or his work in 1 year, celebrating 1 year in office. We did hear, one of the things obviously is closing the gap between the parallel and the official market. So while that's commendable, when we look at the value of the Naira, the reintroduction of the Dutch auction system, well, it's receiving applause. But what about the value of the Naira? I think we have Mr. Rewane back. Mr. Rewane, can you hear us now?
Clearly.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just saying that you've already expressed your thoughts on why you think the Naira keeps depreciating in spite of CBN intervention. Have you found out something new?
No, let me first of all, normally once a country increases its interest rates, the currency strengthens because basically it becomes more expensive to get the local currency to buy the international currency. That's basic rule number one. So two things happen here. One, the U.S. interest rates were dropped by 50 basis points, and Nigeria increased its own interest rate by 50 basis points. So, technically speaking, the Naira should appreciate instantaneously against the dollar because the interest rate inflation differential has narrowed. But having said that, you must understand that a lot of people who are in the currency markets had an inventory of dollars. Two, a lot of people did not know, and there was no clarity as to when the next auctions will be. So what we are saying is that once the central bank announces that we will have periodic interventions, no matter what the frequency and the magnitude, the marketplace will take that into consideration. So initial reactions were negative because they want information. One of the characteristics of perfect markets is that if there's information, easy entry and exit, homogeneous commodity, the market becomes perfect and prices begin to decline. So in this case, I think the next credible step would be that the central bank would have to now begin to announce how it intends to intervene. Yes, there was some money sold to BDCs in the last day or two, but that's not going to cut it. You need a very deliberate and intentional strategy as to how to get the currency back. But having said that, I think that the Naira got to 1,700 yesterday. I think it begins to appreciate from today or tomorrow. You begin to see it will be sticky at about 1,700, and then it gradually begins to come down. But let's not deceive ourselves. A 50 basis point increase in interest rates is not going to salvage the Naira. It only means that it will appreciate marginally, and then gradually other things have to come into place. One, the debt service proportion, the fiscal activities of the government, and more than anything else, we must get the oil revenues back up by actually doing something about the vandalism in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, obviously the oil and gas sector is still the major driver of revenue and sustenance of the economy. But another worrying one, we've been talking about the threat of food insecurity. We have numbers, we have researchers and all of that, but the flood seems to bring another dimension to that, because now the United Nations is estimating that flood destroyed about 8.5 food for about 8.5 million Nigerians. So once again, a bleak Christmas is what we're seeing?
Yes. Well, to a large extent, a bleak Christmas, because we're counting on three things between now and Christmas. One, the import of commodities with the duty waiver program. Two, the harvest season. And three, the lower logistics costs. Now, with the floods, both in the northeast and to a large extent in the south, it means that we will lose part of the harvest. Two, it will be more difficult to move products from one market to the other. And three, even if you import the commodities, you will not be able to get it into the hinterland and the marketplaces. So this is bad luck, right? At times you have to be smart and be lucky. So this is bad luck for Nigeria, and it means that the inflation trajectory that we're expecting that will begin to decline in November and December may not materialize as earlier anticipated. Look at the domestic commodity prices. As of today, flour is up significantly to about 71,000 Naira. Rice is up at 100,000 imported and 95,000, I understand, for domestically milled rice. Palm oil is down, and tomatoes is the big one that has actually come down to 22,000 Naira a basket. So mixed bag there for commodities. Another thing that happened after the increase in interest rates was that normally, if you increase interest rates, the stock market declines because people move from equities to fixed income securities. We saw that happen yesterday. The day before yesterday, the market appreciated. Yesterday, it appreciated again because of surplus and other things. We think that today, the market will go down. And we also think that today, maybe the Naira will stabilize and begin to appreciate marginally. But the transmission effect of that into domestic prices will take some time to come. There will be a lot of anguish between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, well, we do hope. I know we started counting down 100 days like 2 days ago. So we do hope that those buffer that the federal government, the way that duty waiver and all of that will set in. So at least we'll have, a beautiful Christmas at the end of the year. But thank you so much, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane.
But there was one comment, though, Ini. There was something about the family office. There were some comments about the Dangote Refinery. First and foremost, the products are coming out in the market. We'll have a new price in October. based on the Naira oil concentration. But also, some people said Dangote is sort of a family office. Family offices are normal. So you have Gates family office, Warren Buffett family office, and all of those offices. I think it's important that we realize that separating the corporate identity from the personal identity that is typical. And therefore, the focus is on when the refinery starts to produce, at what price, and we made it clear that we do not think that the price is going to decline anytime soon. If anything, the price is going to increase. But one thing, though, is that the uniform pricing across Nigeria is a thing of the past now. That therefore, the price in Maiduguri will not be the same thing as the price in Akure. Neither will it be the same thing as the price in Port Harcourt or in Sokoto, for that matter. So differential pricing and efficient pricing come in. Two, that the price of diesel, which today is at 1,180, begins to be a proxy for the price of petrol. Therefore, if you're paying 900 now, you have to get ready for the fact that you'll be paying 1,100 and something in a not too distant future. But however, because of the reduction in traffic, you'll find that even though the increase in price, you are spending less time in traffic, and maybe the amount of petrol you are burning is less than you were burning before. Is that any comfort for anybody who is paying for transport fare? No. I'm just putting the reality on the table that we should get ready for those increases as a part of this adjustment process. Thank God the youth corps allowance is now at 77,000, so that's the beginning of the soft landing for the Nigerian consumers.
Yeah, well, interesting there, Mr. Rewane, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know more about that pricing you're talking about. Is it the one decided by the Federal Executive Council? Is it the market price, between the private, the other stakeholders in the value chain buying from Dangote? I mean, but I guess I'll be putting you on the spot right here because you're neither in Dangote nor in NNPCL or even the government.
No, I think that the pricing, the value chain from when crude oil goes into Dangote Refinery, when it is refined, and when it's passed on to either the independent marketers or to NNPC. What we are seeing now is the early stages of a value chain that needs to be efficiently structured so that we will know that this is the price of crude internationally, this is the refining cost, the transportation cost is part of it, and then the final cost. But one thing is clear, that nobody is going to sell petrol or any commodity for that matter below their cost price. So what is the margin? The margin is determined between NNPCL or the marketers and Dangote Refinery. In any case, people have an option. If Dangote's refinery products are too expensive, then NNPC or the other marketers will import from other places. But there are also other refineries, modular refineries, and the government-owned refineries, which we are told will get back into operation very soon. They've been saying that for the past 3 years, but seeing is believing, as I say.
All right, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, thank you so much for that information. I know that's a very useful one for Nigerians. Well, still talking about the oil and gas industry, our energy correspondent, Olu Philip, did have a sit-down with a member of the NNPCL. That the NNPCL has been under a lot of fire recently. Well, he spoke with the Chief Upstream Investment Officer of NNPCL, Upstream Investment Management Services, Mr. Balawunti. And, we have excerpts from that. You can get the full interview on our website, on our YouTube website. But just a bit of it is what we bring to you right here on Business Morning.
For allowing us this time in your space. Let's start by really asking you, really from the top, in view of what you represent and what this department represents and signifies in helping Nigeria's energy security quest, what really is that and those things that keep you awake to ensure that these ambitions are met?
NNPC have, for right now, meeting all its cash call obligations. I'm glad to say that no partner is being owed, any cash call. We are up to date. As a matter of fact, we are very proud that for the first time in a very long time, that cash call has not been part of what keep the GCO awake. That issue has been crossed and crossed for good. And we're looking forward to having significant improvement. As regard to your question, what kept me awake? I think, frankly, I have three important things that keep me awake. Number one is production. Number two is production. And number three is production. It's not perfect to see why production is a major element that keep me awake. This is because production of hydrocarbon in this country underpinned the strength of our energy security and the strength of our financial security, whether you look at it from a revenue perspective or from foreign exchange perspective.
From the dashboard where you're looking at, how do you help to clear from this conversation the doubts, the disbelief, the contemplation for those who still have a different perception as regards Nigeria's production level, Nigeria's forex income revenue, and of course the cash call for the upstream sector, which is also the lifeblood of this nation's oil and gas industry?
So again, the data is crystal clear, and no doubt we are a monolithic economy. What that means is that we are very much dependent on the revenue from the oil and gas. At the last check, between 67 to 70% of our revenue come from the oil and gas related activities. In terms of forex, it's even in excess of 80%. A combination of forex and revenue determine the financial stability of every nation. But most importantly, the role of NNPC as a catalyst for national development and growth underpins the major important requirement for bearing a very secured energy security landscape. That would not have been possible without the role we are playing. And when you talk about the clarity that we are bringing, I think many a time there seems to be some misconception of what constitutes production of oil in Nigeria. There are two sets of numbers that we bring. One is for the purpose of OPEC and OPEC compliance. That deal with dry crude a lot. Only dry crude. What that means is that only hydrocarbon that has been properly classified based on its assay as crude oil, dry crude. And that's the one that we owe responsibility to meet our quota. However, for the purpose of our revenue computation, whether in terms of royalty, taxes, or even the profit, or the equity barrel that we need to take, we look at total liquid as the total production, which means it is the dry crudes for which we are obligated to comply with our own quota under OPEC, and then the condensate, which is also liquid. Many instances, this condensate and the crude are commingled together. So the total volume that we normally report is our total liquid production, which loosely Nigerians would call it oil. What you see many a times is that when our regulator brought about dry crude number for the purpose of OPEC, or OPEC reported our barrels, like just recently your television reported what OPEC said, that our August number has moved to 1.35 million barrels. What that means is that that's dry crude. For you to be able to know the total liquid hydrocarbon production of Nigeria, you need to add that 1.35 million barrel with our total condensate production, which stand today somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 barrels. So if you really want to report our total production, you need to take the dry crude number, add it to the condensate, and you will see that we're wobbling around 1.65, 1.7. But what you normally will take from OPEC is only dry crude oil alone. And if there's anything we want you to help us enlighten the audience, is the simple fact that anytime NNPC report total production, they are talking about total liquid. Anytime NURPC bring about total production, they're talking about total liquid. And that number is different from what we submit to OPEC because condensate is not under OPEC restriction.
To help us understand the PIA, some elements of the PIA, especially as it concerns the recent agreement or partnership that was struck between NNPC Limited and Chevron.
What the law does under Section 92 is to provide for any licensing holder to voluntarily convert to take advantage of the new law. So what we did with Chevron was basically to take that advantage. For us to be able to enjoy that, we did everything that we needed to do under the law to comply with the law. And in compliance with the law, particularly in a non-operating joint venture, collaboration matters. And that's strong collaboration between NUIMS as a non-operating partner on behalf of NNPC and Chevron as operating partner requires significant level of alignment. And that close working relationship made us to be successful in meeting all the requirements for us to combat. That conversion means that today, the NNPC Chevron joint venture is positioned to be more profitable. It's positioned to go ahead and do its business with confidence in order to generate more value for its shareholders. Most importantly, it creates a properly kept licenses that are up to date, that have gone through regulatory compliance checklist, and therefore it is an unencumbered asset. With that, investment can now happen without any restriction, and that incentive to invest is the expectation that is going to create more production.
What is the true position of the IOCs as regard these stories around divestment, leaving the country, not finding conducive environment, especially the troubles from, so to speak, from the communities?
Well, I can confirm with you with all certainty that all our upstream-related regulators are now business enablers. The NURPP, for example, has never been as friendly as it is today. And that was why you can see it as evidence that the combined collaboration between the operating partner Chevron, the non-operating partner and investor NNPCL Limited, and the regulator worked through a very stringent requirement for compliance. And we are able to achieve that in record time. And today we have our licenses now converted from 5 OMLs to 26 PMLs. That is unprecedented by any benchmark. Second, when you look at it from NCDMB perspective, we're getting more and more collaborative response in a very speedy manner. Our operators, together with us, we're engaging with them closely. The combined, what I call current situation by our regulators clearly is providing additional level of confidence. You spoke about the community. Best practice as a reasonable, prudent operator, Chevron in particular, supported by the non-operating partner NUIMS, considered community as very crucial to our business.
Feel free to tell us if there are more investments also happening alongside that may not have been raised in the course of my questioning in this interview. Are there other investments going on that may suggest growth for Nigeria?
All what we are doing basically, and how are we partnering with our operating partners, is that we're wearing bifocal lenses. And what does that mean? We are doing whatever we can do to exploit to the fullest, optimally, the investment we have so far made across our production landscape. Second, we are also working hard with our partner to explore new opportunity, new horizon that we can invest in. That was slowed down because of uncertainty and the ambiguity around lack of clarity around the fiscal system. That has been eliminated now. We have also successfully mitigated the security challenges. And what that means is that we now have a green pathway towards making sure that we invest and benefit from those investments.
Fuel of choice. And for those who pay a little more attention to how processes work and how this industry works, CNG, if you work it backward in terms of the value chain, will mean that the feedstock natural gas has to be available. And if more Nigerians, for instance, sign in and sign on to this fuel of choice, which is CNG, are you suggesting that we are making the right investment progress to make sure that the feedstock, which is the natural gas that eventually leads into value chain into CNG, isn't going to be a problem when a lot of people sign on and are demanding heavily for CNG as the fuel of choice?
So, compressed natural gas business is a value chain. And because it is a value chain, it starts obviously from where you source the gas, to how you process the gas, to how you package the gas, to how you eventually transport and deliver this gas to the consumers. You have to have this value chain synchronized properly in order for them to deliver on their mandate, on their objectives. What we have seen is the greater interest or increasing interest on CNG business, and demand for gas obviously is showing up. We in the upstream space, we are waking up to that occasion. We are having more and more gas. I don't think there's any CNG company that has insufficiency of gas, absolutely no. But we also noted that the development of the midstream and the downstream component of CNG requires some time to mature. And that maturity matrix or maturity funnel is far behind the gas production.
So there you have it, understanding some of those details on the production, crude production, and some of those joint ventures which we hear the NNPC do sign up, and how it will affect revenue and crude production or crude availability in the country. That was it being done by Olu Phillips. Now, I think we can do a little bit of the market for just a second or so. Yeah, so we have the market closed yesterday in the positive. We do know that the oil and gas, yesterday was a very busy day for the market. We saw the flour mill delisting news. We saw it move in the market. We saw the Seplat also, and Exxon and Mobil also moving the market. So we see that the market gained 0.42%. Equities cap was 56.88. If we could see the sectors, okay, volume was mixed, the only values stood out. Let's see the sectors. I think the figures, yeah, there you have it. The figures lost yesterday. Consumer goods and industrial goods were in the green. And there you have that news with Seplat that moved the oil and gas counter. That was a major driver of the market yesterday, 3.27%. To give you fresh numbers, intraday numbers, that'll be at 1 p.m. Business Incorporated. Laddie Williams will be here with Aniti Edet. For now, let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studio.